In many developing countries, the kind of formal certification, property rights, and title systems that are familiar in wealthy countries often do not exist or are limited mainly to urban areas. A lot of farmers farm on land owned by the state. In Africa particularly, a lot of farming, up to 90% in some countries, is done on land held under customary tenure regimes, where land rights are not certificated or formalized. Under customary tenure, people gain access to land as a social right, and it's granted by virtue of their membership in a community. This arrangement in Africa flows naturally from pre-existing African communal institutions. Customary tenure systems provide access to land as a social right by virtue of one's membership in the community. An indicator of the security of the tenure is that land can often be inherited by other family members, but it can't be sold. Despite not being able to sell it, customary tenure often provides high levels of security. Some have argued that communal farmers in Africa who have been allocated and are working farmland would have great incentive to invest in the land and increase agricultural output and productivity if they had formal title deeds. The academic studies, however, show that whilst issuing formal title deeds boosted productivity and output in Asia and in South America, frequently between 50 and 100%, this hasn't been the experience on the African continent. Productivity gains in Africa when similar arrangements were implemented varied from 0 to 10%. And this divergence can in part be explained by three factors. Firstly, customary tenure systems generally provide poor people in Africa with access to land. It's free of charge, and once again, there's a social right attached to this. It's a pervasive institution in Africa. If you're going to do something with your land, it's not just about the land as an asset. It's also about labor, capital, having the income to invest in your farming enterprise. And on the African continent, the generally lower levels of income constrains these farmers' ability to make better use of their land. And thirdly, effective land reform is not just about providing secure land rights to people. It's also about providing affordable access to farming inputs and to markets, investments in roads and related infrastructure, cooperatives, farming training, and so on and so on. And these investments really help farmers to capitalize on secure land rights and increase productivity. In summary, most countries in the African continent use agriculture which is executed with a blend of both privately owned land and communally owned land. The different forms of land tenure impact on the sophistication of the farming that takes place, including access to inputs, access to financing, investment in farm infrastructure, and other key features.